If you're over the age of 30, I want you to strongly consider quitting vaping. And if you haven't already made that consideration, I hope today's video is the wake-up call that you need. I'm working with a client currently who owns a very large online company, and this individual came to me for help quitting vaping. And upon onboarding them, we gathered a lot of their health information, and they sent me blood works and they sent me body scans, like body fat percentage scans and things like that. And after going through all the medical information, it was very obvious that this person is in declining health, which is really sad for a young person in their 30s who's building up this beautiful career, beautiful family, beautiful business, to see their health declining at such a young age. And they're currently suffering from a fatty liver. They're suffering from decreased immune system function. And even though they don't look it, they're suffering from obesity, okay? And this is putting their cardiovascular health at significant risk. When we vape and consume nicotine, it constricts your blood vessels, and this can lead to plaque buildup in your arteries going to your heart or make you more susceptible to it. This can result in things like stroke and heart attack, and it can also result in damage to your extremities. You might be getting numbness and tingling in your hands and feet. You might be getting that decreased circulation and your hands and feet are always cold. This is because of the negative effect that all that nicotine is having on your cardiovascular system. Now, going back to the person that I'm working with, why is this a problem? One, it's a major problem because they're building this beautiful life for themselves and their family. And if they continue down this path, they're not going to be able to enjoy it to the extent that they want to. But two, it's eventually going to have a negative impact on their work performance. I want you to think about it. When you're suffering from cardiovascular problems, something I used to struggle with, high blood pressure when I used to consume nicotine all the time, it's a complicated process. You go to see your primary care doctor, they tell you they don't really know what to do, maybe they'll give you medication, maybe not. So they refer you to a cardiologist, it's back and forth on the phone trying to get in. Then the cardiologist wants to do a bunch of testing on you, blood work, stress tests, EKGs, and they want to put you through all this testing, and then you have to schedule a bunch of follow-up appointments. Not only is this scary to go through that, but it's also taking up a lot of a person's time, right? When we're worried about health complications as we get older, it takes time away from your career, from your business, from your family. And I don't think that a lot of people realize the gravity to the extent that vaping could be negatively impacting them, not only their physical health, their mental health, but also their relationships, their finances. Time is money. And when you're spending time on health complications that you're actually paying a vape company to cause for you, that is going to get very expensive, especially if you're over the age of 30, because it's between 30 and 40 where people are usually hitting peak strides in their career. For me, I quit around the age of 28. I was starting to struggle with a lot of neurological problems. Now listen, I was also addicted to cannabis. I was addicted to stimulants as well, but high milligram nicotine all day long wasn't helping. And another problem that we see with vaping in a lot of people is exposure to heavy metals, nickel, lead, tin, and these things can result in neurological problems. I was getting numbness and tingling in my hands and feet and other portions of my body, not only because of that blood flow restriction, but because I was actually causing damage to my nervous system from being hopped up on nicotine all day long, being in a super high stress work environment, owning my own practice, right? And I was abusing stimulants on top of that. So my nervous system was creating numbness and tingling all over my body. It can also negatively impact these heavy metals, your kidney function, which naturally declines as you get older. Like that's already happening. So by vaping and smoking cigarettes, you're speeding up that decline of your kidney function. And then we also have to consider hormone disruption. A lot of people don't realize that because right now in today's world, you're hearing nicotine is good for testosterone and this and that. But understand, at very high intake of nicotine, especially in the form of a vape where you're getting all this other junk in it, you're setting yourself up for disrupting hormone production. Testosterones, estrogens, especially for females dealing with things like PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. I've had lots of clients that I've worked with who have practically reversed PCOS symptoms by quitting vaping. And for males, this can eventually have a negative impact on testosterone. All right? I want to go back to that client that I was working with and talk about hormone disruption a little bit. If we're overweight, if we're too fatigued to go to the gym because we physically can't breathe from vaping, and if we're not working out and we're not going to the gym, chances are we're not eating that healthy either, just because we're less motivated to, I guarantee you that that individual is also dealing with some degree of hormone disruption. It could be testosterone, it could be cortisol, the stress hormone, it could be insulin hormone levels. Another thing that vaping puts you at risk of is insulin disruption and glucose sensitivity disruption. A lot of people, when they vape, their energy levels go through these highs and lows all day long, which makes it really hard to perform in your day-to-day work life, to be honest, because nicotine impacts glucose and vaping has been shown to decrease insulin sensitivity. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. This is a major problem, and those problems can put you at a higher risk of type 2 diabetes, which can result in a fatty liver, which can also result in an increased risk of cardiovascular decline, heart health decline. This is huge if you're over the age of 30 because you're already more susceptible to some of this stuff just because of the aging process. Now, I want to pause for a minute before I talk about this more, because a lot of people are going to watch this, and I don't like fear-mongering, because what happens is if we have the wrong relationship with nicotine, you're going to do what I did. You're going to get really worked up, you're going to get scared, and you're going to cope by just vaping more, smoking more cigarettes. And that's why I usually tell people scaring yourself into quitting isn't usually a good outcome, because you get so worked up about it, you just consume more of it. Quitting really comes down to changing your relationship with the drug and how you view the drug. That's how I quit. That's how I help clients quit. But you still need to be aware of these health risks. Now, of course, there's the cardiovascular risks. Something that's really popular right now on TikTok because of all the young people getting lung injuries is popcorn lung and EVALI, which is essentially vaping-related lung injuries. Popcorn lung occurs from the diacetyl flavorings used in vapes. These flavorings have been shown to clog up the small airways in your lungs and lead to permanent scarring. This can lead to shortness of breath. This can lead to chronic bronchitis symptoms. This can lead to respiratory fatigue. And this is a major problem, because if you are a high performance individual, you're probably that way for a reason. You value your physical health. You value the time that you spend with your family and the energy that you need to take care of your kids. You value your energy because you need to put it into building your business and building your career. Having popcorn lung or having EVALI, lung-related vape injuries that could result in a collapsed lung, it happens all the time, and it's happening to younger and younger people by the day from vaping-related injuries. I want you to think about the major disruption that health crisis is going to cause to every other aspect of your life. When we're healthy, it's easy to take things for granted, especially around that age of 30, because you're not exactly at 40s, 50s when things really start to get a little more dicey. So it's easy to take things for granted. But I want you to understand, you're not just taking your health for granted. You are actively investing in something that's destroying your health, costing you time, costing you money, and potentially hurting your relationships. You are actively investing in that thing to only get a negative return on your investment. Why would you be doing that to yourself? The reason you would be doing it, I can answer that, is because you have a screwed up relationship with how you're consuming that substance and the perceived benefits that you have regarding your substance use. There's another major problem. Vaping has been shown to alter a person's DNA because of the presence of formaldehyde and acetaldehyde. These are the byproducts of car exhaust. These are the things that we use to preserve dead bodies in a morgue. Now, it's not that the vape companies are putting these ingredients into the vapes intentionally. It's that the act of vaporizing something creates a chemical reaction with the vapor, and these are byproducts that are created that you're then inhaling. These gene mutations can absolutely result in cancer. And again, just by naturally aging, we're increasing our risk of cancer because we've now been exposed to toxic things longer than someone who's 15 or 16 years old. Why would we want to throw fuel on that fire? That's what we're doing by vaping. Now, another major side effect that a lot of people don't talk about is the mental health constraints. I was working with a mother recently who was quitting cigarettes, and she would say to me, I have 3 kids, I have this chaotic life, I'm a stay-at-home mom, it's crazy, my husband's working all the time and I can't stop smoking. It's my only break, it's the only thing that keeps me calm around my kids. And I said, listen, every time you consume nicotine, you're spiking cortisol, you're spiking your stress hormones, you're spiking adrenaline and norepinephrine. And I understand how in the moment, when your kids are screaming and there's a million things happening, that can make you feel more attentive. But from a science standpoint, what you're actually doing is burning out all of those neurotransmitters. You're constantly putting yourself in and out of the state of overdrive. You are literally overwhelming and taxing your body and your nervous system. And then what happens? Your kids are throwing stuff, they're screaming, they're not eating dinner, you got a dirty diaper there, and you are so taxed just from what you're doing with addiction and substance use. You don't have the capacity that you would naturally have to be patient, to handle these kids in a controlled manner. It's not the cigarettes that were giving her a superpower to be more present for her kids. In fact, they were taking away from it, and she had been doing it for so long, she couldn't even see that anymore. And she was also unaware of how the physiology of nicotine addiction actually works in the body. Once we explained that to her, she had a great outcome. She quit. Over time, after she got through the initial cravings and irritability, she realized she was able to be a more patient, more present mother. The addiction was actually complicating that because it's very hard to balance motherhood with active addiction. It absolutely makes life harder. It makes life more stressful, not less stressful. And she was spending money to add that stress to her life. We have to reframe how we think about it. This other client that I'm working with that I was telling you about, who has the fatty liver, the decreased immune system function, we're going to fix all that. Now, that's an important thing though, because here's the thing, here's a catch. If you're quitting vaping, please keep this in mind. You have a set of goals you want to accomplish. In this person's case, they want to get healthier. So in quitting, we have to make sure that we accomplish those goals. We have to make sure that we work on trying to reverse that fatty liver. We have to increase immune system function, and we have to increase their physical endurance for fitness and in the gym and stuff like that. A lot of times people will quit vaping and they'll think, okay, that's the goal. I just got to quit vaping. That's where you have to start. Now, we have to make the goals that you had of quitting, in this case of this person, improved physical health, in the case of the mother, better parenting, more patience in parenting. We have to actually make those goals come true. Because if we don't, then you're going to quit. You're going to say, screw it. Nothing came true that I was hoping to come true. And you're going to go right back to using the substance. And this rabbit hole of addiction and substance use is just going to continue over and over and over and over again. Now, lastly, another major problem that's often not associated with vaping is chronic fatigue related to the strain that it makes on your mental health. I want you to think about this. You're vaping all day long under the impression, or popping Zins all day long under the impression that it's helping your work performance. You're screwing up your insulin levels. You're screwing with your blood glucose levels. You're screwing with your levels of adrenaline and norepinephrine. It's screwing with your sleep if you're doing it before bed. And if you do feel physically crappy, chances are you may not be working out as much, taking good care of your nutrition and diet as much. Okay? How in the world is that helping you perform better day to day in your family, in your physical fitness, in your business? It's not, because the strain of physical health problems converts to a significant strain on a person's mental health. A lot of people see my videos and they ask me, like, Frank, what are you on? What do you do? Nothing. I take really good care of myself. And in doing so, I have significantly increased my stress tolerance for work-related issues, for family-related issues, right? I have significantly increased my physical capacity to take on the demands that I have to meet day to day. The thing that's going to make you superhuman, the answer to giving you superpowers, does not lie in a drug. I will acknowledge maybe it got you started, but it's not going to be what sustains you. And if you're like me and you're in the process of building a beautiful life for yourself, for your family, your kids, your career, your business, your side hustle, I don't want you to fall victim to the negative return on your investment that vaping is eventually going to give you. Okay? I don't want you to fall victim to that. And that change, that single decision to quit, starts with a shift in perspective. And I'm hoping in today's video I gave you some of that shift in perspective. That single decision to stop starts with a reframing of your mindset. And that's what I help people do. People just like you, parents, business owners, medical professionals, influencers, fitness people. And if you need help with that, I want you to check out the link below. There's a training in there where I talk a little bit more about my story, and you can learn about how to work with me one-on-one when it comes to quitting nicotine, cannabis, stimulants, things like that. So link in the video description. I also put it in the pinned comment. I hope this helped you out.